Hi, everyone. Derek Beckwith here from Demand Science. Very happy to introduce Jason Carrier, our Senior Director of Global Channel Sales, to help us with our third episode of our series on channel marketing. The topic today is maximizing MDF efficiency, and we're going to take a deep dive into how both tech vendors and their channel partners can supercharge your channel efforts. So, Jason, thank you very much for being here. Your 25 years of experience will come to bear again today to help our customers, partners, prospects, anyone out there learn about how they can address one of the big challenges that organizations have been seeing. So thank you very much for being here. And why don't you just kick it right off, along with saying hi to everyone, with talking a little bit about marketing development funds, which have been around for decades in the channel ecosystem, and talk about how organizations can drive efficiency with those funds to maximize results.
Absolutely. And good day to everyone. Thanks again for having me back for another episode as well. So marketing development funds, or MDF, really is an opportunity that partners today in the channel can go ahead, obviously, and they've been using these for decades, but they can use these strategically as well, not just for field events, for marketing campaigns or programs that might be done more on a sales level, as an example, in terms of field with partners, but also utilizing those dollars specifically for digital campaigns and programs, whether it's ABM display or whether it's content syndication, otherwise known as lead generation. And the big value, of course, with marketing development funds is that's the opportunity that a tech vendor, a Salesforce, a Microsoft, a Lenovo, for instance, they use those funds to basically ignite opportunity within their channel partners to drive demand for their specific products and their brand. And the big opportunity, I think, for anyone that's listening or viewing this series, quite frankly, is perhaps a lot of these things that we've been talking about are somewhat similar. These are things that you may have been executing in your business for many years. Demand Science, of course, now has a really robust, vertical market that is set upon the IT channel, how we go to market, what products we have, how channel partners can leverage those, or even tech vendors. And really, it's about maximizing efficiency, and it's maximizing as far as scale as well. The biggest problem, the biggest challenge, I think, that the channel partners have today, whether you're a multi-billion-dollar company or whether you might be a couple $100 million in revenue or even smaller than that, is really finding things that are repeatable and scalable. Obviously, headcount and being able to have large marketing teams is great, but oftentimes that's not the reality for channel partners today. So they really have to think efficiently and effectively around how these dollars are used and what it is in particular that they can go ahead and drive from an ROI standpoint using marketing development funds.
Well, thank you very much for that, that background information. And, one of the things, because we did talk off screen before we started taping this episode, is that it's always been a challenge to have insight and understanding about what's working and what's not when, both tech vendors and channel partners are trying to figure out how effective the spend on those marketing development funds from either perspective is working. So why is that such a challenge?
The challenge is because oftentimes the channel itself has literally dozens or hundreds of campaigns running across different entities within their own businesses. And it's very hard to develop a precise ROI or even ROAS model, return on advertising spend, because there is so much volume of activity going on. And the challenge, I think, for many in the channel is they look at these marketing development funds or other marketing activities more in a discrete type of way in terms of trying to measure them one-to-one. And the challenge there, of course, is we don't know all the inputs that go into a marketing campaign in the channel, for instance. So what we've been able to do here at Demand Science in particular is being able to run campaigns and programs specifically that the channel partners could use with their own MDF, or conversely, tech vendors themselves can invest directly with demand science and actually ignite the channel themselves in terms of leveraging these dollars and directly running these campaigns on behalf of their partners. Many of our campaigns and programs, of course, at Demand Science are run by demand gen marketers or digital marketing groups within organizations. What we've seen over the last couple of months, though, in conversations is how does a channel digital marketer, or how does a channel specific marketing manager actually leverage these dollars themselves and invest on behalf of the channel, so they themselves know that there's a better return, rather than just giving those dollars specifically or directly to the channel partners. They could do a little bit of both. And by doing a little bit of both, they're really creating an opportunity for themselves also to come up perhaps with even better measurement.
So when you're talking about campaigns, anything, well, actually, I'll give the sneak preview here. Content syndication seems to be very effective at this, both to ignite campaigns and sales, but also to be able to get the insight needed to see what's working, what's not. Can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. So content syndication really is nothing more than direct marketing to specific ICPs, or ideal client profiles. And a content syndication program, in essence, is leveraging and utilizing specific assets, marketing collateral, for instance, at scale and volume and reach. So working with demand science in particular, when you have a content syndication program, you're using a couple different assets. You're using a landing page, for instance, to capture contact information from an interested IT pro. What we're able to do then with that type of format or type of campaign is be very specific around who we're outreaching to, what the intended goal or use of that specific solution is as far as problems that it solves in the marketplace. And by capturing interest at the very ground levels, as far as an individual within the IT buying committee is actually looking for solutions to help propel their business, we're actually being able to engage with them prior to them actually calling a reseller or calling and reaching out to a manufacturer. So we're getting early enough in the buying cycle and buying stage that we can actually still make an influence around, would they rather go at vendor X or vendor Y? And do they even know the difference between those two different, companies and the value that they would derive from those products? So content syndication really at the end of the day is going to be an opportunity to be very precision based, to have a specific ICP or ideal client profile leverage, utilize content that may or probably exist, and then be able to kind of scale this across literally tens of millions of different, IT pros in a specific audience, where you're only bubbling up those interested or those that show the most interest at a specific time.
And so with these campaigns, I mean, one of the things we talk about is being able to measure. So what sort of metrics are you able to capture to see? So in the end, you run a content syndication campaign and you get, say dozens or hundreds or whatever, depending on the scale of it, of leads to be able to focus on. But what are the different slices that you can look at to see how your campaign is progressing, what the success is and the reach, etc.?
That's great. And so I'm going to start from sort of the end of the assembly line, which is a very interesting way to kind of look at this. But at Demand Science in particular, what we do for our clients is we actually work with them hand in hand in regards to making sure that they get the most value of any campaign or program. So we have a wonderful CX team here at the organization who works specifically with clients around defining what an ICP or ideal client profile looks like. We also then have the ability to stand up a landing page, basically a page that would have an asset or assets on it with imagery, with maybe like a small infographic as an example, and then a lead capture form where we actually work with our clients to make sure that we're getting the right information, not just about that specific contact, but also maybe even asking the right qualification questions in addition to having the right content. So the big value in terms of from what we do, and this is all for free, by the way, in terms of what we do and how we go to market, But that's huge for the channel in particular, because the channel doesn't have extra resources to really spend a lot of time on doing this. And then working forward, backwards continually here now, not only when you run the campaign or start the campaign, you have the ideal client profile, you have a specific CPL or cost per lead. So the CPL that is derived is based upon what sort of audience you're going after, what type of content you might be using, for instance. But it's also derived in regards to how many qualification questions do you have? Or are you going top of the funnel, mid funnel, or bottom funnel, as an example? The further down the funnel you go, as far as from a qualification standpoint, obviously the higher the cost. But the other beautiful thing about this process in terms of that makes it really simple is all the CPL costs here, cost per leads, are fixed. You'll never have a number or, for instance, a contract that's issued by Demand Science whereby we're exceeding targets. Everything is controlled by us. We also do lead gen replacement as well. So if we don't have a specific lead that meets the ICP that's been contracted for, what we can do in particular within the first couple of weeks after those leads were delivered is we'll replace those. And I'll give you an example. We just ran a campaign, for instance, and we're going to replace, roughly about 10% of the leads. Now, the partner who actually designated that opportunity with us has been pretty impressed by that, because what we're doing is we're not trying to drive the value around us. We're trying to drive the value and the return investment around them. And at the end of the day, that's what a customer is looking for. Are you going to be a partner and make this a long-term relationship, or are you just going to have a transactional opportunity? Transactional opportunities don't scale. And that's what we do here at Demand Science.
For the people who are watching this who aren't really familiar with content syndication, we've talked about being able to syndicate the content, get it out in front of a broader audience. So, obviously that goes to brand awareness and understanding what you're offering, that sort of thing, the problems you're solving. What are the other benefits that come along with content syndication campaigns?
So I would say the other benefits that come along with content syndication programs is going to be the ability for a specific company to advertise in such a way where they're seeing the maximum value around their specific dollars. And I'll give you an example. It's always helpful, for instance, to run, maybe like, to warm up an audience using like a display sort of offering. But what content syndication does in particular is it's really specifically around an ICP. So there should be no waste in terms of the advertising at all, because if you know your client, if you know your client base or customer base as a manufacturer, as a channel partner, we'll work with you on making sure that we get the right firmographic, like install data that we can run as part of the campaigns, the right demographic information, the right geographies. So this helps as far as from a muscle memory standpoint as well with marketers, because what they're doing with us in running these campaigns isn't just about like a fixed cost per lead, or it's not just about what assets make the most sense, but it's also helping our clients think about holistically what is it that they're trying to achieve at the end of the day. And are they just trying to drive pipeline? Are they just trying to get leads for lead's sake? Or are they actually trying to build relationships with specific audiences that we can help predefine to get them as close to the target as possible around making sure that they get the right prospect in the sales funnel during that 80% of the buyer's journey, that prospect isn't even speaking to a reseller, isn't even speaking to a manufacturer. They're sort of doing everything on their own because they have all these tools in the marketplace as far as from a research standpoint. So help us get you in front of that client or prospect as early as possible. That's going to give the best possible return that you're going to have in selling a product to them potentially in 9 months or even a year.
Well, yeah. That really means that as more and more people understand the benefits of content syndication, and I don't want to call it baseline marketing, but it really is executing what works and what we know works.
That's exactly right. Yep. Yeah. And the last thing I'd put a little exclamation point on this is, look, marketing today is a lot of science, but it's also still a lot of art. So you have to, as a marketer, whether you're working for a channel reseller or whether you're working for a big tech brand or a mid-sized tech brand, you almost have to look at your marketing portfolio, marketing spend almost like building your own mutual fund or ETF in terms of from an investment strategy. What you want to do is you don't want to double down in any specific one area. You want to make sure you sort of have an even spread across your spend, in the sense of that you're doing your field marketing events, that you're doing your digital campaigns, you're running your content syndication programs, and you're also then doing, just general sort of what I'll say is brand outreach. Brand building, I think, is sort of a series in and of itself. But when you think about in terms of, identifying a specific problem that you have as an IT pro, for instance, what are those brands that come up the most frequently as far as in your own memory, right? In your own sort of, knowledge base. So that's the other part of this too, is content syndication might be trying to look for the diamond in the rough, or, shrinking the haystack to find the exact right ICP. That's tough. So what you want to make sure that you're doing through this process also is not creating barriers or limitations on your own marketing programs in such a way that you're so micro-focused around just reaching a specific target ICP that you lose sort of the vision around a little bit larger pool or audience of individuals that you should be targeting.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Well, anything you want to add to this? What's next? What can people who've been watching today do to get going?
Yep. So what I'd love to do is hear from you on LinkedIn. On these videos, you could post a comment. You could reach out to me on LinkedIn at Jason Carrier, Demand Science. You can come visit our channel marketing page on Demand Science as well, where you can actually see some of the stuff that we've been speaking about through the series, as far as how to use MDF or content syndication, or what's an ABM display campaign look like. We have a holistic set of solutions here at Demand Science, and I'm looking forward to engaging with you and also continuing the video series with Derek and making this as valuable as possible of use of your time.
Thank you, Jason. This has been another, I think, very, very high quality, helpful discussion for people. Hopefully you get a lot of value out of this. And as Jason said, contact him, reach out to us. Our website's on here as well. We have a whole section on how we can help channel partners. So visit our website, contact Jason. We're here to help. And we look forward to seeing you again when we have our next edition of Supercharging Your Channel Partner Program.